What is going on, guys? My name is 4G. So today I wanted to make a video going over the idea, asking the question, would it have been better if Fortnite OG started later on in the actual OG seasons? Now, what I mean by that is, did we have to start in Chapter 1, Season 1? Now, on one hand, I want to say this, I do actually like that it is, in fact, Season 1, and we actually got to experience this yet again because it has been incredibly fun. It's been a very long time since we actually got to play on this actual OG map, which didn't even have things like Junk Junction, Snobby Shores, Tilted Towers, of course, Shifty Shafts. We didn't have any of these Haunted Hills. I almost forgot about that one. We didn't have any of these POIs because that was not added until the mid-season update for Season 2. And I think right off the bat, my main idea with this is, would it have been better if they just released Season 1 and Season 2 combined, or shortened them in a way similar to how Season OG was, where we basically had different things each week. They kind of progressed throughout that time period, just so that we got through the very OG early seasons just a little bit sooner, because there's a lot of stuff about this that is really rough around the edges. Now, the reason this would be good, in my opinion, is because of the fact that there's so many things about the very first seasons that is just not exactly what people wanted when they said they want Fortnite OG back, we want Chapter 1 back. Not everyone, of course. A lot of people did want this as well, but there's a lot of people like myself that really primarily wanted the later seasons more like. For an example, once we finally got ATKs in Chapter 1 Season 5, that was like the perfect vehicle. It wasn't too fast like a car would, so it kind of messed up the speed of the gameplay or whatever, but it still gave you something so that you could get away from the storm a little bit sooner. And of course, rifts as well. That's another thing that allowed us to get away from the storm sooner. Things like that are just completely missing with this game now. Of course, it's just very, very basic. And I think that is good on one hand because, first of all, people who didn't get to experience it get to experience it. And then people like myself that have been playing since day one. I mean, I still have a gameplay on my channel from September 26, 2017. I talk about that way too many times, I feel like. But regardless, I've been playing this game since the day that Battle Royale came out for free. It was technically out a little bit sooner if you were a Save the World player before it was even called Save the World. But if you paid for Fortnite Save the World before it was called that, you actually got access to Battle Royale a little bit early. So those are like the OG players. But regardless, it is really nice to be able to re-experience this again, but now in a different light, I guess you could say, because of course, first of all, you're looking back on this absolutely remembering everything that happened on this map, everything that is going to change, everything that has already changed since then in terms of, if we think about all the previous chapters as well, like everything that we had to do to get back to this chapter, and then everything that's going to change on the map and everything going forward in the future season. This also is great, like I said, for new players, because there's so much with Chapter 1 that people didn't get to experience, and in my opinion, that is just a shame, because Chapter 1 was so amazing. Now, would it have the exact same feeling nowadays? I'm not exactly sure, because of course we've had a million different seasons, million different chapters. It depends on what you started with, for an example. Of course, I feel like that's a factor, although not fully. I think that a lot of the content that we've actually gotten in Chapter 1 was night and day better than what we've gotten over the years. Not recently. I feel like with Chapter 6, they've done some good stuff. Even Chapter 5, I didn't like the content, but they were keeping content fresh, basically. They were still adding stuff frequently. But during Chapter 2, for an example, there was a long period of time where they just barely added anything. We got a new season. Nothing changed with the map. I'm not going to get into that because there's a lot of Chapter 2 purists that absolutely despise me saying anything negative about Chapter 2, but the lack of map changes was a huge reason why I wasn't a big fan of it in comparison to Chapter 1. And yet with Chapter 1, we have had so many map changes. We've had so many big updates throughout the entirety of those 2 years that we were on the Chapter 1 map. And now people can actually experience that yet again. We're going through it again. So new and returning players can access this and actually enjoy it. And I think that that is absolutely amazing. That is why this OG mode is so good for the game, because you have options, and options, in my opinion, if they can sustain it with the amount of players, which it's Fortnite, it's a massive game. It seems like they can sustain it just fine. But the point is, if they can sustain it, then options are good. The more different game modes, the better. Because now if you want to play Chapter 6, go play Chapter 6. You can play the new stuff. You want the old stuff, Chapter 1. Now, going back to the actual idea of them, if they were to skip Chapter 1, not skip Chapter 1, but kind of go through it a little bit faster. So it was only a week or two, so we got through it. And then we went to Season 2 right away. But they weren't doing, because of course that wouldn't work with the OG pass, then you wouldn't have that much time to work on it. But the reason it would be is because this map, while it's nostalgic, for being real, is incredibly unfinished. All right, I feel like Chapter 1 Season 2, when they've got the mid-season update and we had the Tilted Towers update, as I call it, and they added all the extra areas around the map, that is when the Chapter 1 map fully came out. Yeah, sure, they added a lot over time with new biomes and stuff like that, but the Chapter 1 Season 2 map was what OG Fortnite was, in my personal opinion. And I think a lot of people do agree with that, so I am mixed. I do like that we're going back to this original season. We have these OG traps that were not in the game. I never got to experience these, really. I mean, I did. I picked them up, but I never actually used them because I barely built, of course, and I didn't place traps that much. I died to traps traps quite a bit, but I wasn't really a player that would pull out traps and stuff like that. But in this case, now that we're all better players at this point, yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to experience this again and see all the stuff that has changed over time, and now we're going back to it. And of course, there's a couple different things that I still wish they would fix, like bring back the OG Scar. It has the OG sound. Why do we not have the OG Scar? But then also the bolt. I don't want this bolt, this Chapter 2 bolt. This doesn't fit in my opinion. It sounds like the OG bolt, but it doesn't have the actual OG model, which is very simple. It's already in the game. It's already the blue bolt, so just copy paste it for purple and gold. That's literally what it was, and I thought that made it so much better, to be completely honest. And the reticle, change the reticle back. I want this reticle. This reticle made it so much better. I don't know, it's a mental thing, but I could snipe way better when this reticle was a thing and not this weird plus sign in the center of the screen. I don't know. But anyways, the whole point with this video is I think that if they did skip that, we would have gotten to experience Chapter 1 Season 1 again, but it wouldn't be so long to the point where we are going to probably get kind of tired of it. Let's be completely real. At least in my opinion, I am probably going to get tired of it because it is not the OG that I've been begging for years. The OG map in general, that what I think of when it comes to Chapter 1 was the absolute peak seasons of Season 5 through 8, I would say, were the absolute best Chapter 1 seasons. You could even throw in Season 4 in there. I don't know. I like Season 5 because that's when we started to get some biomes thrown in the mix. We got Paradise Palms. Season 6, that was the whole Halloween theme. That was awesome. Then, of course, Season 7, we hated on that back in the day, and I do not understand, because looking back, that was a fantastic season. I mean, I guess the planes were pretty OP at that time, which I kind of hope that they make them so that the planes are in their nerfed state that they did with the version 7.40 update. That was the best update ever. They added Siphon to pubs, and they nerfed planes all in that same update. And planes were actually, they were nerfed, but they weren't horrible. Like, you couldn't crash into people's builds. That was the nerf. If you did, it's not going to destroy the build. I kind of think that that was the best form of planes, because it was just really annoying to be in a build fight and someone just coming in and flying in with a plane, and then, yeah, good luck. But anyways, the other side of this, going back to it real quick before I end this video. So while there is some bad when it comes to the idea of them bringing back the first season, of course, the good is that, first of all, we'll have stuff to look forward to. It'll be nice to look forward to future seasons that are, of course, much better than Season 1. This is literally the worst season in my personal opinion, which is saying a lot because I still love it. I think it's still great. It's still fantastic, but it is technically the worst season of Chapter 1. I should have made that clear. Of Chapter 1, not in general, but it is the worst season in Chapter 1. But it is nice to experience it, of course, and it will build upon it, and I guess the idea of it being almost 2 months long is going to actually keep it more authentic and similar to how it was back in the day. Whereas if they just kept it for 2 weeks, it wouldn't feel as authentic. It would have felt more like Season OG, where Season OG wasn't all that authentic. It was fantastic. It was incredibly fun, but because it was only 1 month, it didn't really have that same feeling as an original Fortnite chapter, whereas now it kind of does. The whole point of this video was because I really just don't like how there's so little places on the map right now to land, and it's very frustrating when you're playing solo, and every time you want to go to any named POI, it is like going to Tilted Towers every single game. You have to land in the outskirts, and if you land in the outskirts, you're not going to have enough heals, you're not going to have enough loot, so it's just kind of a negative when it comes to that, and some people might like that, and I honestly kind of like it in one hand because it makes it harder. It makes it feel more like an original Battle Royale like we had back in 2017, 2016 with things like H1Z1, which I guess makes sense, but I mean, we also have reboot bans now in OG, and it wasn't there back then, so I mean, they can change some small things that would overall improve the game, right? Also, speaking of that, I really do hope they have the Christmas bushes around the map and use the Christmas 3D lobby. If they have Winterfest this year, that would be so nice to see. We see this right here. I think that would be amazing. I know that was technically Chapter 1 Season 2, but I mean, since we're not going to be in Chapter 1 Season 2 until mid-January, or late January, I'm not exactly sure what the specific date is, I think this would be nice to see in Season 1. It doesn't matter. I don't think it really matters that much. If you're throwing it into this season or Season 2, I think it's the same thing. Just give us this. Give us the Christmas bushes around the map like we had back in the day. I think this would be a fantastic Fortnite OG season. But anyways, that is going to wrap up this video. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that it's good exactly how it is, where we're having Season 1 for 2 months? Or do you think that they should have had it so that Chapter 1, Season 1 and Season 2 were almost combined into one season, and they were much shorter because of that, so we could get to the best seasons in Fortnite? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new here and you like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great